Ross, in your view, has the RNLI made the right call in not having lifeguards on our beaches at a time when clearly a lot of people want to make their way to the coast?
The RNLI had a very, very difficult decision to make, and clearly they've had a lot of discussion within themselves about how they were going to cope with the COVID issue and putting lifeguards on beaches, something that they absolutely would want to do, but they've had to take the reasonable precautions of making sure that everybody is fully trained, making sure that they are safe, because what we don't want is lifeguards to end up having to come back off our beaches after they've been deployed. Because they haven't been able to keep safe and they've ended up with COVID. So all in all, I really do think the RNLI had a very difficult decision to make, but definitely made the correct call in this case.
There's been a lot of messages, certainly from Her Majesty's Coast Guard and the RNLI, in fact, about personal responsibility, making sure that you keep safe, making sure you don't take inflatables, making sure you keep an eye on your family, making sure that you social distance on the beach, all these safety messages, but most of all, at its heart, personal responsibility for safety. How does that make you feel, knowing that that message has gone out there, and yet people are still making their way to the beach, still making their way to the coast, and potentially putting themselves and others, and even you as frontline responders, at risk?
I can understand why people would want to go to the coast, and we have this all year round, and the personal responsibility doesn't change just because of COVID. We would like to see that personal responsibility at all times, all through the year, every year. But it's especially important just now. Yes, it's upsetting to see so many people not really understanding the risks that they're taking, but I think that's part of the problem that we have at the moment. People just don't perceive the risk that there is at the beach, and that's part of our job, is to make sure that people understand those risks, to help them take that personal responsibility, and to try and reduce the number of incidents that we have. And that's why we do so much work on educating the public and helping them to understand where that personal responsibility lies. It absolutely lies with them. Yes, we'll help them when they get into difficulty, but at the end of the day, we'd rather they didn't in the first place, and we'd rather that they took responsibility for their actions.
Would you rather the government had taken the step of saying, look, you can travel, but you can only travel this far, or to maybe help local authorities bring in bylaws to shut their beaches if they needed to?
Across the whole of the UK, the regulations on movement are slightly different, and actually to restrict movement is a real challenge, and it's a real challenge for the police, for the local authorities. Putting in the kind of regulations to close things completely isn't necessarily going to be successful, because it's almost impossible to actually police these things. So whilst we could put in those regulations, they might not necessarily work, they might not work very well, and we'd much rather that people just took that personal responsibility themselves and did what we asked them to do in order to keep everybody safe.